Hey, thanks for listening to Things I Learned Last Night or watching wherever you're at. I just want to update you about some shows that I got coming on. Next week, I am in Kansas City, Missouri, April 8th at the Funny Bone. And then I'm in St. Louis. I'm doing the whole Missouri triangle this week. I'm doing Kansas City, St. Louis, and Springfield all in the same little thing. So all those shows are coming up. And then I'm in Las Vegas, Sin City. All week, April 20th through the 26th. And then I am in Birmingham, Alabama on June 6th and Atlanta on June 7th. So those are all the shows. You can find all those dates at paulruddtheactor.com. And I did a show this past weekend that we're recording, and I literally got on stage and they had like the monitor in the back, and I can see that they have a slide up there with my face, and it says Jaron Myers, but Jaron is spelled a new way, Jeron Meyers, both names. And I literally, that's why I'm like on stage being like, don't try to spell JaronMyers.com. Yeah. Just go to paulruddtheactor.com.
Yeah. Comment below how you think Jaron Myers is spelled. Do it on Spotify. Do it on
this hurts.
Tell us you think Jaron Myers is spelled.
So anyway, I would love to see you at those shows. That would be awesome. So let's jump into the episode, huh?
Hey, man. Have you ever heard of the Panama Papers?
The Panama Papers. Oh, my gosh. Did we get here from Watergate? Is that how we got to this topic?
Maybe. I don't know, honestly. I think...
Hey, actually... April Fools.
Oh my gosh. What are you doing?
April Fools.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna run this episode.
Oh my gosh.
Let's just mark down a time.
No.
I gotta get set up on my laptop.
Oh no. Are you gonna do the same Shrink Next Door? Just run the whole episode. They go back to their little melting factory at night, and they wear their little masks and their costumes, and they all stand around the fire, and they're like, melt.
Actually, it's more like melt. Oh. Things I learned last night.
Before we get going, I want to read you this comment that we got 11 hours ago. It says, let Tim do the topic. I always come for the topic and stay for the bits. So,
well, not this week. This week you're here for the topic and you're here for the bits.
Sorry,
okay?
Dylan. Sorry, Dylan Maynard.
So, because here's the thing. I saw this story, I'm tired of telling you to do topics and then you just let them sit in the thing for like 6 months. And then you delete that thing. So it actually, like the last topic I taught, I have been asking you to do that for literal years.
Yeah, you have.
That's true. I saw this story. It's a hopeful story, right? And I was like, I don't want to wait for Tim to find something about this and mess it up for me, you know? Because we're talking about the story of this guy named Danny Hartwell. Have you heard of Danny Hartwell?
No.
Okay.
No.
So,
you have a picture of Danny?
What's that?
Do you have a picture of Danny?
I do have a picture of Danny Hartwell. Here's a picture of Danny Hartwell.
Okay.
This is obviously in 2002.
This feels
looks like
AI.
What do you mean it feels like AI?
This feels like like you went into AI and you said, put a picture of me, but make me younger in 2002.
Of me? Of you?
No, just like you're this guy. And you tell AI, you're like, make a picture of me in 2002 at a gas station diner.
Okay.
That's what this looks like to me.
Well, this is in rural Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana does just scream AI.
Okay. He looks like Jim from The Office.
He does kind of, yeah.
But this is Danny Hartwell.
For the audio listener, he's got the Jim Halpert haircut. He's got a blue shirt.
He goes to his barber. Probably not a barber. He probably in small town Indiana, it's probably just whoever does his mom's hair. Yeah, that's usually how that works.
Yeah,
and you just go to her. Her name's like Teresa.
Yeah.
And you go and she does your hair, and it's not great. We're making fun of this, and Alex has the same haircut. He's born in 1981 in Woodgrove, Indiana. And it's a town kind of like Mount Vernon. The population it's actually a little bit bigger. Its population is 6,000.
Okay.
His dad, Mark, is an appliance repair guy.
Okay.
And so
we've got new appliance repair guys that just moved in next door.
Oh yeah. In this building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to mess up there?
Similar?
We should ask them. Well, I mean, honestly, they might know about this.
Yeah. Interesting.
We'll find out.
Okay.
So his dad, Mark, is an appliance repair guy. Kind of like my dad does subway repair stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then his mom, Elaine, she works part-time at a community thrift store. Okay. So, small town, just doing stuff.
Yeah.
And so Danny grows up surrounded by, I don't want to say junk, but just like... But no. He's surrounded by like spare parts, discarded machines,
broken appliances.
His mom works at the thrift store,
items.
so like just junk.
Yeah.
So what I mean, like all this is set up is that Danny's like a tinkerer.
Yeah,
he likes to he likes to put things together. He likes to try to invent new things.
Yeah. And he was growing up in the
80s.
80s? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so so he had like this tinkering obsession. He would take apart anything he could, get his hands like he would take apart microwaves, VCRs, radios, all this stuff. He built his first crude like mechanical helper arm.
Yeah.
At 12 using a bicycle chain and some scrap.
Okay.
Like, so he was really smart.
What do you mean mechanical helper arm?
I was trying to find what that meant.
Is it like those things where you like reach and
that's what
that's
what it sounds like. Okay. It sounds like one of those like little pincher arm things, but he made his own out of just scrap parts and a bicycle chain.
Is that something that everybody's grandma has? Like, does everybody's grandma have those pincher things, or is that just my grandma?
Every old person, I think you get it for your 65th.
It's like, you reaching is out of
They're like, hey, that's dangerous, dude. Don't do that anymore.
Don't do that. You cut off the punchline on that, and I'm really mad because I thought it was really funny, and you're gonna think it's dumb. But I said reaching is out of reach for you now.
Oh, that is funny.
I think that's hilarious.
I like it. Here for the bits. Did we start the timer? Great.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. That's funny. But anyway, he was always talking about something like he had a dream in the 80s too. I feel like the world was like full of possibilities. Now, I mean, you also got to think like we talk about a lot. The difference between the iPhone from 2007 and 2015 is wild.
Yeah.
The difference between the iPhone and that's a 8-year span?
Yeah.
Difference between 2007 and 2015 in almost all of technology.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Difference between 2015 and now, 10 years?
Yeah.
11 years?
Not much.
Not crazy.
Yeah.
So like he's in the 80s though, where there's so many. I mean, we just went to the moon 10 years before he's born, right?
Yeah.
My nose is itching and I'm trying to subtly do it. But anyway, he's got like this, I don't know, maybe too optimistic, like this naive view of the world, but he wants to build something that he thinks could change the world.
I mean,
right?
I think that's what, to be fair, like I think what a lot of people through that time period had. I mean, even us, like up until recently, there was this idea, especially in this country, that like you can go do and build anything. We talked about this recently. I don't know if we talked about this in the podcast, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how really in the United States since the 50s until pretty recently, a large chunk of the population, not everyone, but a large chunk of the population was at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We were all living in the self-actuation triangle.
Right.
And so it's like, everybody's like, live your dreams. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And like the world was your oyster. Yeah. Because all of our underlying needs had been met by being a part of the wealthiest country that's ever existed. Yeah. In the wealthiest time for that country. Yeah. Which we'll and I'm gonna save the not crash out, but the I'm gonna bring up that article. What would you call that? That paper the college paper I sent you. Oh yeah, that was really interesting. I was gonna bring that up when we talk about a different character in the story. Okay, so we'll get there. All right. But so anyway, so Danny discovers a book called "Building a Better Machine: The Whitlock Philosophy" by Dr. Harold Whitlock. This is. Do I want to show you old Whitlock or young Whitlock? Let's see. This is one of those things it's weird that you told me that this photo looks like AI because I was like, dude, here's the thing. Here's Dr. Harold Whitlock. Yeah, those papers look like AI. Like his desk, the back, this is a magazine shoot. On the walls. This is a magazine shoot. Yeah, this is the patents on the wall, the desk, everything about this screams AI. Whitlock. I'm assuming this is Whitlock.
This is Harold Whitlock.
Whitlock.
This is young Whitlock. No, I was gonna say because the two photos, I did this on purpose because like the two photos that I found, or not two, I found more of them, but the other one I was gonna use was just like, this is literally just like it's an office and it's the same jacket. It looks like.
No way. Hold on, go back.
It looks like the same jacket.
But to be fair, like that is a core.
I was gonna do that joke, but yeah,
that is a core like male experience, is finding something like article of clothing
that is just that you look good in,
and you never get rid of it.
I say this all the time. If you find an outfit or like pair of pants, buy 3.
Yeah, yep.
Buy 3 pairs of those pants because when you go to the store the next time, they're not going to have it.
I did just recently rip a pair of pants that I have, and I put an order in for the exact same pair.
I went for my special, I went to Banana Republic and bought some pants. And I washed them for the first time, and that's like, I spent $80 on these jeans.
Yeah.
This is like, that's like my Old Navy jeans, they get ruined in the wash. They get ruined in the wash.
Go get some new ones.
But like, I spent money on this, and I literally was like anxious. I was like, I hope. Yeah. Anyway.
Yikes.
So that's Dr. Harold Whitlock. Whitlock is So he's the founder of Whitlock Industries, which is headquartered in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he's known for designing modular upgrade systems for equipment. So like basically what his idea was the idea, kind of like what we're doing with our headphones. Like you said, his idea was everything we make, and they do, hold on, what are the main products?
It sounds like, did you see this phone? I can't remember what it was called. Alex, you might remember, but in like the mid 2010s, this phone came out. They like were crowdsourcing it. And the concept of the phone was every component was a little block, and you just plugged it into the phone. And so you had like the screen, and then you could just plug in the different blocks. And so if you wanted a lot of memory, you got a bigger memory block. Right. If you wanted better speakers, you got a bigger speaker block. And like for whatever you cared about, you got the hardware for what you cared about. And I think they ended up getting bought out and killed. Like I think like a big corporate, like a big phone corporation bought them and just sidelined the project.
Because that's the whole thing. Is so like he did like farm equipment, and he did so my dad actually worked at a machinery shop, and they didn't make guns, but they made the little metal parts that go inside the guns. Okay. So Whitlock Industries
Are you talking about bullets?
Yeah, bullet. No, like they basically made 75% of like what an AK-47 would be, but like all the little metal parts.
Yeah, because if you put it together, it's illegal.
Well, you can't put it together, but you can make it in parts, and you can sell it in parts.
So insane.
No, but like they, so their things were universal gear assemblies, like ball joint connector packs, like different things. Yeah. So the idea being from all of their products on, farming equipment, small manufacturing equipment, machine shop equipment kind of stuff, was the idea was if this breaks, was kind of what you're talking about with that phone, you can replace just one part of it. You don't have to replace the entire thing, which, as you were saying,
I'm gonna lose my mind.
You are going to lose your mind.
Here's the thing. We need to acknowledge,
is not profitable. I mean, it's profitable.
It's profitable for the people making the replacement parts.
No. Here's the thing. It's profitable. It's a good business, but it's not like it's hugely scalable the way that shareholders want things to be. Right. So, and that was
a big thing we keep, and I've never, I'm glad you found this story because I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but we had a listener for a long time, and I'm not sure if you still listen, but you'll know who you are. Kept recommending that we do the right to repair as an episode, and he worked in agriculture. And he talks specifically about farming equipment. And I looked into it a few times.
Is that what this is?
And I just could not find a storyline to make it an episode. But
what is the right to repair?
It's that if you own something, you should have the right to fix it instead of having to replace it.
Yes.
And it's a big issue in the farm world right now because all these products are getting put out that you literally can't fix. You have to replace.
So that is the Whitlock philosophy. The Whitlock philosophy is that you should be able to repair and instead of have to replace the entire product is that everything on this machine is designed that it's supposed to be unbelievably cheap to be able to repair these things so that you can buy one product and you can use that product for decades and just make minor repairs, right? So Danny Hartwell obviously idolizes Dr. Whitlock, right? Yeah. Like almost to an unhealthy degree, like has posters of him. Has like,
really? Of that guy?
I mean, yeah, of that guy. No, but I mean like, you know, it's on his wall. He's just like, I love this. No, but you know what I mean? Like he talks about him.
Ceiling. He's laying in his bed at night.
He's just like one day.
Night, Whitlock.
Okay.
Lights up his cigarette. Night, Whitlock.
Joking, but not joking. That's how obsessed he is with this guy.
Okay,
right?
Okay.
So let's go into who Dr. Whitlock is. So Dr. Whitlock was born in 1946. He's basically like a child prodigy, kind of the same thing as Danny. Like just really tinkering at a young age. Like my brother has that gene, whatever that is. My brother could build computers and take things apart. Yeah. I have the creative. Kind of, I don't have the mechanical brain. Yeah. So he starts Whitlock Industries in 1978 in a rented warehouse. And his mission was to make machines last longer and work longer for the people who depend on them. Okay. Was his stated mission, right? And so, because a lot of what we're talking about, we've already covered this, but it's in my notes. But if you broke one part of your farm equipment, you had to replace the entire system there, right? Yeah. And so Whitlock creates universal connector standards. So even like 20-year-old machines could be upgraded for cheap. Okay. Right. And so he becomes a folk hero. Rural communities love him. Farmers love him. Small manufacturing towns are like, this is perfect. This is literally like, yes. And so there is the upfront cost of converting to some of these machines, but he was also making back-end products to upgrade your current, like you don't have to buy a Whitlock machine. He could profit it for whatever your other thing was. Right. Okay. And so around 2003, you know, Danny's 22 at that point. Okay. Around 2003, Whitlock kind of isn't doing as many interviews anymore and he did like these, not video series, but kind of like they put out these like promotional things. He was a very big character, big personality kind of guy. And around
Whitlock would have been what, 57 then?
Yeah.
So not like, it's not like he retired.
Right. But he just kind of started slowly disappearing. He's not doing interviews anymore. He doesn't show up at product launches anymore. Like he used to be like, and this is like one of those things where he was like the lovable guy.
And he was kind of like the face of the brand. Like he was always.
Right. Okay, and so rumors were kind of going around that he was burnt out, that maybe he's like battling depression, that he's being pushed aside by the board. But the company insists that he is deeply focused on research, and that's why he's not being in the public anymore.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
But even employees who work there aren't seeing him as much anymore, which is weird, right? So enter 2004, a younger executive named Victor Redden, which this is
I don't even have to see him. This guy's a villain. I know he's
Victor Redden.
Oh no. This guy is.
And this is like a life touch.
Oh my gosh.
This is the early form of. So my mom and dad got wedding photos around this time. Okay, first of all, look at how wet his hair looks.
His hair is so wet.
This is the style, dude.
So
my dad did this. And I did this. Like, let me see if I can find a picture of me when I was that age. Let's see if I can.
He genuinely looks like, and I always want to call this the show's not Severance. It's the other show. Yeah, where it's like they're all like they're the rich family and they dress like that, they look like that, and it's
what?
It's not Severance. I always want to call it Severance. It starts with an S. But ever since Severance came out, I just always think it's Severance. You watched it. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't make it very far. It was like an HBO show and something with a business. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, Succession.
Succession. Yeah, that's what he looks like a Succession character.
Let me go back to you. He does. And like he just looks like that little smirk is gross.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
He looks slimy.
And so this is Victor Redden.
And his hair looks slimy. He looks like a slimy person with slimy hair.
This is the kind of guy, this is what we're talking about. Optimization is everything to this guy. And this is even like 2004, dude. This is like before
So he was early to the movement.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I actually listened to a podcast this weekend about performative excellence.
Yes.
Did we talk about that on the phone?
We talked about it on the phone, yeah.
Performative excellence being that instead of like actually moving toward goals or doing work, a lot of these guys in the tech bro world. This guy's for sure looks like a finance bro. Like just freaking came out of what's McKinsey or is that McKinsey and just sucks, Yeah. And his wife's name is Chelsea. He doesn't like her. And but her dad was cool and rich, and that's why he married her. And and I like to play golf with him,
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you like this show, we would love to see you on our Patreon. It's a great way to financially support the show. We don't make money from this. It just helps us to pay the people who do make money from this, like Alex and Robert, our editor, and maybe one day me and Tim.
Maybe one day.
But only if you join.
Only if you join. We can't
We're
get
waiting.
paid.
We can't get paid
until you pay.
We can't feed Tim's kid until you join.
He's hungry. In the arms of an angel.
I was trying to find a picture of myself from that time. Anyway, it was in 2004. Your hair looked wet. That was like you put hair gel in, and it looked.
And it wasn't like now like people use pomade and powders, so it like looks more natural. But then it was gel, and it was
gel, and it was supposed to look. It was hard,
so thick, and
it was
like
hard.
Yeah, it was bad,
and that was the style.
It looked so bad.
So anyway. So Victor Redden, he's a Harvard MBA. He's got a consultant background, so I wasn't kidding. And he's obsessed with efficiency.
Yeah.
And so he immediately starts shifting Whitlock Industries toward a more, what he calls, modern, profitable model.
Oh, no.
Right. And so he cancels all affordable modular upgrade lines.
Isn't that like the business, though? Like, what are they doing because wasn't the business like everything is upgrades?
Yes. But what his idea was, his thought was that now we have such a brand loyalty from these manufacturers and these farmers that we can now get them to upgrade to our new machines.
That they can't upgrade.
That
they can't fix.
But I don't think they knew that at the time. I think that's
expected.
They expected. So he calls it the Redden Replacement Initiative, which is full replacement products instead of parts.
I hate this guy so much already.
Right. Which forces people to buy expensive new models, which starts crushing low-income customers and rural people, right? Yeah. And so warranty policies start...
Whitlock, Whitlock is primarily the farm equipment?
It's manufacturing equipment and farm equipment. So, it was a pretty broad set of products.
Yeah.
And so, give me an example.
Like tractors or like... I've never heard of... I've heard of John Deere. I played Farming Simulator. I don't know if I recognize a Whitlock tractor.
Right. So there's a W Series modular gear kit.
When I said that.
So let's see. It was designed for mid-size agricultural harvesters from 1988 to 2002 models. Replaced the entire transmission units for 40% of the cost.
Do we have Whitlock
Unilink 3.1 interface hub? Like this is all. You know what I'm talking about? This is all Axiom retrofit. So this is for hydraulic presses.
Look up. I'm gonna look up Whitlock.
No, don't look up stuff.
I want to see the tractors though.
Okay.
I'm gonna look up.
No, I don't think they have Whitlock tractors. Let me do the story.
Simulator. I just want to know.
I don't think they were putting out they're putting out conversion kits, but now they're putting out instead. So basically, instead of refurbishing this or replacing this one small part of the element, say for example, there's a coupling system. See, you're asking me questions that don't. And now I understand. I'm diving too deep into this stuff.
Well, I want to know. I just want to know if I know these tractors from Farming Simulator.
You don't know they don't make tractors.
They make harvesters.
They make parts for harvesters.
Okay.
But now,
the more we say Whitlock, the more I'm like, maybe there was a Whitlock in Farming Simulator.
Maybe there is. We'll look it up after this. Anyway,
can't stop thinking about Farming Simulator.
I'm saying that so they changed warranty language. The parts that were $12 are now unavailable entirely, kind of situation.
That happened to me the other day, and by the other day I mean a few years ago. The pump in our fridge water dispenser broke because I was replacing it, and I I took a
And you
wrench
did
to
it wrong?
I took a wrench to it a little too hard and broke it.
So the thing broke just out of nowhere. It broke, and it was because I was working on it.
the hose broke.
I wasn't working on it because it was broke.
The hose.
It was broke because I was working on it.
The hose sprung a leak. There was like a little tear in it. I replaced the hose. And when I was taking it off, I didn't realize the type of connector on it. And so I was just like, let me just take a wrench to it and just get it off. And I got it off and I broke the pump. And so I went to try to replace that though. And you can't get that pump. And so our water dispenser just didn't work until we replaced the fridge. I had to replace the whole fridge to get the water dispenser to work.
Right.
And I didn't do that until
So I think more of what they're doing is less like full like product replacement and more so for that example is that they used to make things and design things so you could replace that one sealant spot.
Yeah.
But now you would have to replace maybe not the whole fridge, but at least the entire hose.
That entire
part of
the
that
whole
unit.
the whole assembly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean is like there's not like a Whitlock refrigerator. Maybe there is, but I mean like those kind of repairs, right?
Yeah.
So this brings us back to Danny, who around this time, 2004, as Redden has taken over and is starting to do all these changes, Danny doesn't really know about that because, it's not like it's major news, but he's obsessed with Dr. Whitlock. And Danny has been for his entire life.
He keeps going to these conferences expecting to see Dr. Whitlock, and he's not there. And he's like, where is Whitlock?
He's like, where is Whitlock?
Who's this guy?
Where is Whitlock?
Where's Whitlock?
Dry your hair.
He's in the crowd echoing him. Dry your hair.
Dry your hair, you wet loser.
Your hair looks so wet.
Dude, that's the thing about these efficiency guys. It's the same thing as Brian Johnson, dude. Why are you so wet? So Danny creates a compact multi-press joint, basically a universal connection hub for small tools. Okay. Right. And he's been trying to sell this around his small town. And a couple people have said, like, man, this is a really good product. Like, you should take this to Whitlock.
Yeah.
Because there was still like a little bit of an idea of like, I can just show up at Whitlock and try to apply for it. And that's how Danny's small Indiana brain was like, I can just go to Chicago.
Yeah.
So that's what he does. So Danny takes a Greyhound to Chicago with a backpack full of parts, $114 in cash, and he expects to
$114 in cash?
Just, he's got...
That's like us going on tour when we were 19.
We had that bag of cash?
We were gone for 30 days. We spent 30 days on the road, and I think between the two of us, we left with $200. Yeah. And we're like, this will be enough. What is wrong with us?
And you know what?
It was
enough. We made it through.
That is the craziest part of that story.
I don't know how we did that.
We ended up getting through the whole thing.
Blessed us.
We did. Was it Houston? That guy was like
Dallas. I remember him for all of my life.
He's like, hey, I think God just told me to fill up your gas tank, and then he filled it up.
Yeah. And filled up our gas, and then he also told us that he goes, "Yeah, I just got a large inheritance. I'm set for life." And we were like,
"He did say that."
Okay.
Okay, good. Happy for you, man.
Cool, man. Thank you for the gas.
Yeah. Can you actually buy us something else?
Yeah.
Could you buy us some?
I was
more
drinking
stuff?
a lot of Monster Energy drinks at that time, dude. When I think about the food we ate on that run,
so crazy.
That's what sucks. That's the stuff that I'm like,
that's insane.
And here's the thing, and I'm not trying to be gross. Where did we poop? I don't remember any poops from that tour. I think we did 30 days, and I don't think I pooped one.
What I remember clearly, though, I do remember this so clearly. We packed up that bus. We had all the gear for the show. We had our suitcases, and not exaggerating, not 12 packs, but like cases of like 24 packs of, I think, 4 cases of Baja Blast.
Baja Blast, baby.
And
it had just come out.
Finished that before the tour. Like, hundreds of Baja Blasts.
Dude, I was a person who was like, why am I 400 pounds? I could not figure it out. So Danny's got, and we were the same age as Danny at this point. Danny's like 23.
So
we were a little younger.
Bright-eyed.
We were 20.
Bushy years.
Kind of like, I'm going to go meet Dr. Whitlock.
Yeah.
So he shows up to headquarters, which this is their headquarters. Pretty cool building.
Honestly, villainous.
It is a little, well, when you look at it from the Redden perspective, maybe, but like, it is if you look at it with hope, you know what I'm talking about? So that's in Chicago, and so he shows up. He's just like, yeah, I've got a thing I invented.
Yeah.
And security's like, no.
Get out.
Because he goes, can I meet with Dr. Whitlock? And they were like, no. And
like Dr. Whitlock's dead.
And it almost, but here's the thing about Danny. Danny's pretty perceptive because he's in the lobby and he's turning to, he's one of those guys that like, he was planning on sitting in the lobby and he was just like, okay, I'll just wait. And he's like, I'll just wait for him to leave. And, but he does notice that like the security team, like when he was like, hey, can I set up a meeting with Dr. Whitlock? And they literally were like, do you have an appointment?
People don't meet with Whitlock.
Like, not like people don't meet with him. They were like,
he's not here.
That's the vibe that Danny was getting. That Danny was like, what do you, and they were like, yeah, he works off site now. And Danny was like, where?
Oh, he got repaired.
And so Danny, he just has this like sixth sense where he's just kind of like, something's off, right? There's a strange vibe. The employees look like they're not supposed to talk to people in the lobby. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, people are avoiding me. I'm trying to be like, hey. And they're like, yeah. And like,
or he looked like a farmer who took a bus to Chicago.
Or he looked like, or they were like, they were doing this whole, they were like, don't.
He had a bunch of like metal sticking out of his backpack and people are like, I think that's a bomb.
But he does go to like the coffee shop inside the thing and he meets a woman, I guess, who's around his age.
Yeah.
Carolyn Price.
Okay.
And he's trying to ask random people how, because he's if there's one thing, he's taking the Greyhound bus, he's gonna meet Dr.
Yeah. You're not gonna waste that trip.
He's trying. So he's talking to Carolyn and she's having her coffee on her break. He finally she says this. She says, you didn't hear this from me, but things are not what they're looking like right now. This company is doing a really weird shift. And she says, because one of the guys was like, I can get you a meeting with Redden. And he was like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then she says, you shouldn't take that meeting.
Interesting.
You shouldn't trust this guy. Which, first of all, again, can't trust that guy.
Can't trust that guy. Can't trust that guy.
Can't trust that guy. Not trustable. So and he leaves there with a little bit of crush on Carolyn because she was cute and she was the only person who talked to him. I think that's like the rules. If you're from a small town in Indiana, it doesn't take a lot for you to fall in love with somebody.
Yeah.
And it didn't take a lot for me. I mean, I was like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
any girl who talked to me, I was like, that's my wife, I think.
I mean,
she acknowledged me.
You leave that small town where you knew literally every woman. And then you go to a new town and then a woman talks to you and you're like, I think she's into me.
Yeah. So Danny leaves feeling, we just got a lot to get to. I'm trying to get to it. So he leaves feeling frustrated and he actually starts going to different shops around town.
Okay.
And just trying to, different like maintenance shops and trying to, show them his new
so he's going to like Ace Hardware being like, look what I made.
Yeah, but Ace Hardware is like a company. He's going to like
mom and pa.
Yeah, he's going to mom and pa shops trying to gauge interest in all this stuff. And he meets a guy named Frankie Delgado. Now, Frankie is a cool name, right?
He's going to blow up. He's going to blow up Victor.
I don't have a picture of Frankie Delgado, but we can imagine what Frankie Delgado might look like. And Frankie, he starts telling him how he got this weird sense at the thing, and Frankie goes, I know where Dr. Whitlock is, which is crazy. And this is a small town guy who's just like,
where is he?
Take me to him. So Frankie takes him to the South Bridge area where scrappers sort out old industrial parts.
Okay.
Right? And he shows Danny these piles of Whitlock upgrade kits.
Yeah.
That are brand new.
Yeah.
Upgrade kits that have been seized. And so Frankie describes to Danny what's happening is that not only have they discontinued those products, but they are actively going on to the resale market
and
buying the products back and melting them down, getting rid of them so that they can't exist.
I hate Victor.
Right.
I hate Victor.
Victor Redden is awful, right? And so Frankie explains that the Reddens run that facility. Yeah. And that the person who runs that facility is actually Victor's mom, Agnes.
Oh, so Victor's mom. Okay. So Victor's mom was like, we got to melt some more stuff. We're running out of stuff to melt. And Victor's like, I got an idea, Mom. I'll go work for the place that makes a bunch of stuff and we'll bring it over here so we can melt some more stuff.
And we'll just collude together on this. Yeah. Right.
And then they go back to their little melting factory at night and they wear their little masks and their costumes and they all stand around the fire and they're like, melt.
melt. Actually, it's more like melt, 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 melt. Oh,
And then they drop a little tractor component in there, and it's like, and then they're like, yeah.
Oh boy, am I sick. I sure do need Tim Stone's Get Well Quick Trick. And what is it? It's simply chug an entire gallon of orange juice. Wow, I forgot. And then this shirt reminded me. I'm so glad that I have this shirt as a public service announcement, a public health service to other people around me. Do your part. Get this shirt. Shop.TILLN.com.
Weird family.
They love it though. They love it though. So Frankie kind of breaks down the game to him and says, this is what they're doing.
Okay.
And it sounds a little bit conspiracy stuff, but it is a little bit like, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, check it out.
And so Frankie says, listen, Whitlock's not in the office. He's not missing. He's hiding. Because he claims that Whitlock is living out of his old research annex.
Why is he hiding?
So Danny says, can you get me a meeting with him?
Yeah.
And so Frankie takes into like this, graffitied building. It's almost like what we were at in the West Bottoms, like an old place, right? Okay. When I say graffiti, like it's not like a toy, it's the West Bottoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he takes him, it looks like people shouldn't live there.
Yeah.
And they sneak inside this half-open loading dock door. And the place is cluttered with half-finished prototypes and old sketches and all this stuff. And there they find Harold Whitlock living in this rundown building. And so
does Whitlock have a family?
Whitlock committed his whole life to this company.
Wow.
So he's not married.
Wow. Okay.
And this is
his passion.
And this is like, they find him. He's not homeless. This is not like a,
Well, this is a home.
That's what I'm saying. Like but it's not like he's like living in a shack. I'm saying it's like if he lived in our West Bottom studio. It's like there's lights.
He's got a little apartment he put together.
He has a little apartment. Yeah. He's there. He's probably getting taken care of by the company at least a little bit. Like he's not, but he is not involved in the company at all.
Weird.
That he's just, and it's almost like he's having this like, I don't want to call it like a depression thing, but he is fully reverting back to the beginning of his company. Where he's just like, I'm just back tinkering. I'm just doing, just trying to invent a new thing. Just trying to, and he's just like, this is what we're doing. And so he says that he was forced out after arguing with Victor about the company's mission. And that the board forced him and that they pressured him to retire for the optics. And that this was a great time. And that once he retires, the stock is going to go up because we got fresh young people.
A public company?
Yes.
Okay.
And so Victor and Agnes have been planning that shift for years, apparently. And Whitlock has this mental breakdown and retreats to his little place. Yeah. Right. And he says, and one of the things that Danny said is that he was so heartbroken that Dr. Whitlock said, I didn't think anybody needed me anymore.
Yikes.
Right. And so Danny then shows Whitlock what. And Whitlock was convinced that Victor Redden was like a young guy who was going to continue the mission. It was just going to update, like bring the new technology into things. Yeah. And so Danny says, hey, look what they're doing.
Look how wet he is.
Look how wet that guy is. And Whitlock was like,
oh my gosh, you're right.
What?
I never saw it before.
He tells him how people back home in Indiana are suffering because these price increases.
Yeah.
And that this is going to cause this entire industry. Yes, of course, Whitlock Industries will make money, but this is going to cause a lot of disruption.
This is a true story.
Yeah.
This feels like a setup for like honestly, like an early 2000s buddy comedy where these two became buddies and now they're going to take down Victor Redden. Like the whole movie is they're going to take him down. Like that's what this feels like. We're setting up
a buddy comedy. Like the way this ends. I don't think you're going to like the way this ends.
Great.
So, well, maybe. I don't know. Let's go for it then, huh? Because Whitlock still owns 37% of the shares.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty...
That's
It's a majority stake.
Probably a majority.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Victor assumed after the mental break that he wouldn't show up again.
Yeah.
Right. And so Danny does kind of help him snap out of the stuff, and like and this is all we're condensed. This isn't like 2 days, right?
He takes him back down to the
Danny
warehouse.
ends up living in Chicago for like a full year.
His family's like, I wonder when he's coming back.
No, he just moved essentially,
Okay,
right? He moved to Chicago, and this is like after months of spending time. It is a little bit like a buddy comedy, I guess, because like they really did like become close.
Yeah, there's like the super cut of them in the warehouse. They're like tinkering with stuff, putting things together. And they're like put things together. They're like walking the streets of Chicago.
Yeah,
eating ice cream with their components,
of course. And then they've invented a new thing that holds their ice cream so that it's not like melted. That's crazy.
And it catches the ice cream when it falls off.
That's crazy. So here's the thing. He does convince them over this full year that there is a board meeting coming up.
Yeah.
And Danny does convince Whitlock that he can go into that board meeting, and he says, you're like, it was almost like, Whitlock's this old guy who just got pushed around by the board and didn't realize like, oh wait, I do have power here.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a wife at home or kids to be like, Dad, don't let him treat you like that. And he's like, yeah. And so Danny kind of becomes like the voice is like, you can't like just let them steamroll you like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Whitlock shows up to the board unannounced to this board meeting. And Victor tries to spin it. He goes, Victor straight up in front of the board is like, this guy is unwell, that there's a reason that we voted him out. Mm-hmm. He's clearly had a mental breakdown, right? Whitlock gives this, I don't want to say like incredible speech, but like he talks and says, I built this company to help people who could not afford these new machines. And what you're doing is putting them in a position where we're going to make a lot of money here and you're going to make a lot of money here, but we're going to destroy these small businesses.
Yeah.
And so the board breaks out into pandemonium. Shareholders are furious about the deception. Several board members turn on Victor instantly, but some of them are like loyalists, right? And so Whitlock calls for an emergency vote to remove Victor as CEO.
Nice.
Which it passes.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Whitlock was reinstated permanently. And so Whitlock restores the upgrade program within 6 months, turns the company around.
Nice.
He issues a public apology for disappearing.
Heck yeah.
And he launches a new community program giving discounted parts to the small shops that were affected by those upgrades.
Cool.
And he also puts in a new warranty that's like, hey, listen, we'll fix whatever. Like if you bought these new machines, like you're not going to have any more expenses past that.
Wow.
Like, yeah. Good guy, and he hired him he hired Danny as a junior engineer at the company. So like Danny, straight up, I don't know. Thank you for being a junior engineer, right?
This whole thing was just an elaborate recruitment ploy to get Danny on the payroll.
they were like, "There's a really young inventor out of Indiana.
He looks really smart."
And I mean, like, Danny gets hired. It's great.
I'm so nervous right now.
What do you mean you're so nervous?
I just feel like it's gonna drop. Like I feel like you're gonna pull the rug out from underneath me. Whitlock is gonna get shot in the street, and Victor's gonna take the company over.
Well, I was saying like it's a happy ending because Danny did start working at the company and like gets to actually infect change, and also like he and Carolyn got married or whatever. We can say whatever.
Or whatever.
We can say whatever.
Or whatever.
Because here's the thing about this story, Tim. Here's the thing about this story. Is that it's not true. In fact, Tim, I need you to look at the screen. This is just the plot to the 2005 animated movie Robots. So, Danny Hartwell is Rodney Copperbottom. Dr. Harold Whitlock is Big Weld.
Oh my gosh. So these are AI images. All these are all AI images. I clocked it.
These are all AI images.
You said give me a wet CEO.
I did. Well, I mean, look what here's let me pull up a picture of what this is what the bad guy in the movie looks like.
And you said, make this a human.
I said give me a 2004 corporate headshot of this guy.
Oh my God.
And it turned into this dude.
That is insane.
So,
oh my
these
God.
are all AI.
I literally, because I thought that even with Victor's, I was like, this also looks a little AI, but not as much as the rest of these.
This is AI too. That building doesn't exist.
Yeah, that is very ominous. It did seem like a weird fisheye lens. Oh, so I clocked this.
You did when you were like, first of all, you were like, these are AI images. I was like, oh no. And then you were like, this sounds like an early 2000s buddy comedy. And I was like, oh no.
Dang,
So
that's crazy. I didn't realize
April Fools, man.
how much the plot of the movie. It's called Robots.
It's called Robots.
Yeah, I watched it when it came out. I remember that movie coming out, but as a child, I guess I didn't connect that this is like actually like
It's
accurate
an
to what's going on in the world.
anti-capitalist movie. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I actually rewatched it this year. This is why I wanted to do this. It's because I rewatched the movie one night, and first of all, do you know who voices you remember who voices the red guy?
No,
Robin Williams is in this movie.
Oh, really?
I know.
Interesting.
The red guy is Fender. It's Frankie Delgado
That's
in our
hilarious.
story.
Did you have AI makeup those days, or did you come up with those?
Is that AI make up all the names? I said, just give me a retelling of this. Yeah.
So
that's
I would have looked up Whitlock Industries.
That's
Is
what I was like,
Whitlock the name of the company?
it wouldn't have pulled up anything.
Oh, is that the name of the company?
It's not the name of the company. No, because Big Weld is the
Yeah, I was sitting there. And I was like, Whitlock Industries. I was like, maybe I have seen that in Farming Simulator. And I was like, kind of convincing myself. I was like, you know what? There are harvesters in Farming Simulator called Whitlock harvesters.
I'm so glad that worked.
That's crazy. No, it's interesting. It's interesting because it does make you like. We had these recommendations to talk about the right to repair concept.
Right.
And how like everything you're saying is a real problem for farmers right now.
Yes. But there is no positive stories of people defeating it is the problem.
Yeah. And that's the problem. And not to crash out, but like when we talk about like public companies, like what happened in this fake story where the board is like, hey, if we keep making products then we allow people to repair them, our revenue numbers can't go up every quarter.
Exactly.
Like we can still be a profitable company, we can still be a successful company, but our revenues doesn't go up every quarter, and that's the point. So when you're a public company,
the other thing too, like the subscription model that most things have changed to, is that the incentive for a company is no longer to make a better product to make more money. The idea isn't let's put an upgrade that no other competition has so that we are better than other people.
Yeah,
it's almost with Adobe specifically, and I'll call them out. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like the Premiere and Photoshop is a $70 a month subscription.
Yeah.
That used to be $39.99, by the way.
Yeah.
Well,
it used to be $70 one time.
It was never $70. It was like $500 for Photoshop. Like you had to, but now I'm paying $800 a year.
Yeah.
For what I would have paid one time is what. Yeah. And it used to be like, they'd come out with a new version every couple of years, and it would be better than the last version or whatever.
It'd be
and
worth
now
getting.
It's a subscription model.
That
now they're more incentivized not to make a better product, which they're making. It's fine, but it's not like it's better than DaVinci or but they're incentivized more to make it so that you can't unsubscribe.
Yes. Yeah.
They're making it so that it's like, okay, well, these files you can't open in DaVinci.
Yeah.
You can't open all of your previous stuff. They make it, and that's what I'm saying is like they make the cost of switching higher rather than making the good of the product better.
Or like, I think The Sims 4. I don't know if you played the Sims games.
It's the same. Yeah.
The Sims 4, they removed, for real.
It's like Sims 4.
Hold on. Sims 4 removed a bunch of features that came with Sims 3. And then you had to pay expansion packs to get those features. And so you'd buy a $60 game, but then to get even just the same amount of features you had from Sims 3, you'd have to spend another $60 on expansion packs.
And it's what we talked about before. Like we did a whole episode on microtransactions.
Yeah.
And maybe that's an episode that we referenced for this, is that, hey, at the end of this, go watch microtransactions. Because it's exactly that, where it's like, let's make the game free, but in order to actually win this game, you do have to spend
a bunch of money.
Over and
way
over
more
and over
than you would have if they just had a normal
and
price.
So there's a book that I was getting ready to buy.
the extraction economy.
Yeah.
Where that's what he's talking about.
Yep.
Is that it's just built to extract as much. You want to crash out about that nurse thing?
Yeah, crash out about that nurse
Oh
thing.
my
That's
gosh.
so insane.
I didn't know about this. I found out about this past week. Is that
what's that company called? Do you know what that company is called?
I have no idea. Nurse
we can
algorithm?
we can just call it a data company. It's just a data company. We don't have
nurse
to find
payment algorithm. Let's see. So the way that they're doing paying for travel nurses is that there's an algorithm.
You should say not everyone.
Not everyone. This app.
People who use this
service.
Data company, yeah.
Is that this data company has access to credit scores, and it can see what someone's debt to income ratio is, and then it can figure out, what's the lowest amount we could pay this person that they have to say yes to this because they can't make less than this a month. They have to pay their debts back.
Yeah.
And so it's an algorithm that figures out what's the lowest amount we can pay them that
because
they can't say no because they're desperate enough.
For debt, yeah.
Which is, and you should know, hell.
That's crazy.
That is there because they're just trying to figure out what's the lowest we could pay you that you could pay your dets, but you can't put any away for savings.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to say yes to this because there's no other option.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't actually build a life that
sucks.
Risks them losing you as an asset, and also risks them having to spend more for other.
And that's the whole thing is that so many of these things have moved to an extraction model where it's like, it like that movie was 2005.
Yeah,
that's 20 years ago, and the point of that movie was like, hey, they're making it so that we can't repair and replace the things, or like the HP printer subscription stuff. Insane that we live in this world. So, so anyway, yes, it was robots the whole time.
That's hilarious. Do you want to talk about that paper? You said you were going to talk about that.
Oh, I was going to talk about that with the optimization guy. Yeah, there was a college paper. Maybe we'll just read that in the After the Fiddle.
Okay, yeah.
How about with that?
Let's do that.
So the After the Fiddle is what our Patreon supporters get. You can support us on Patreon. You get next week's episode, and you get bonus content every single week. After the Fiddle music plays, we keep talking for a couple minutes, and you get that content. And so sometimes it's 3 minutes, sometimes it's 20. Who knows?
Depends how hard we crash out.
How much more we crash out of us. No, but please go check out the microtransactions episode and also,
an old one.
Again, my shows, paulruddtheactor.com. I've been doing a lot of shows and TILLN fans show up. It's really cool because you get to meet each other and also get to meet me, which is fun for all of us. No, for real, that's great. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.